What's going on, guys? We have another week full of work on the Z06. I've started to put some miles on it. Last week you saw us do all the suspension work, get it aligned, and it drove awesome. We started to notice not everything came out quite as good as I thought. It's still leaking power steering fluid, unfortunately, and while it might be hard to tell now, this wheel, the caster, is jacked up. If you notice, it is like an inch further forward than this one. I did measure the wheels front to back and it does hold up. It's not just body panel issues or anything like that. It is an inch longer wheelbase on the driver's side. So we have to look into that. It also happens to turn out that the high pressure power steering hose that we put on here is also leaking. So we're going to replace that with a updated one that's a slightly different design. We're also going to tackle some other issues that the car is having, do some minor upgrades, and then I'm going to start asking questions that I probably don't want to know the answer to. We're going to compression test it and see what kind of numbers a 300,000 mile car is putting out. Some of you guys that have been with the channel for a while are probably asking yourself, hey, I see the Viper back there. Doesn't look finished, doesn't even look different. And that's because it's actually not. Unfortunately, our fabricator is having some health issues. Wish you the best, Josh. Unfortunately, that downtime led with my recently reignited love for the C6 chassis, led me to sell the Viper. We did pretty good on it. We didn't lose any money. Some of the parts from it are going to go to good use in other projects, so I'm not sweating it too bad. When I bought the C6 originally, I bought it with a certain project in mind. But given how much I like driving it, I didn't want to cut it up yet. This is going to free up some funds to either buy another one to cut up, buy another one to drive so we can cut that one up, or maybe we'll just sit on it for a little bit and see where it goes. But the buyer of the Viper is, I believe, putting another Viper engine in it and going to make it a pretty sweet street car. So I am pretty excited to see it actually get put to good use by somebody who loves Viper. With that said, we're going to hop right into this next batch of work with the C6 and then throw it on the compression tester. So one thing I thought I could ignore for a while, and it's starting to drive me nuts, is this mirror glass. I'm not sure how well it's going to show up in the video, but it's all oranged out. It is just completely burnt, and it's not very fun. You can't see much out of it. So, went shopping. We're going to put this guy in and start checking all things. I'm going to play with the motors real quick just to get an understanding of how this works. Not sure how well you can see it. I mean, I suppose it looks like it's working. Again, I'm not really familiar with this, but only one way to find out. You can probably see a little better there. That's obviously the one we're getting rid of, and that is the new used one. What a dick. And of course, there's our resident GTO lover, Dalt, driving around with the hood open like a giant damn hillbilly. Got it. All right, go on, mullet man. You know, we get cars in here all the time, and he insists on taking them for a little test drive, which is awesome. Make sure our customers get nice quality tested stuff. But then again, he takes GTOs and he leaves for like 30 minutes. I don't know what he does, but someday he's going to end up owning a GTO. I would bet my life on it. Please tell me that hood just popped up while you're doing a little pull right there?
Right there, yeah.
Okay, I thought
yeah.
that was the case.
Yeah, so it didn't have a battery in it.
Uh-huh.
So I...
yeah, explain yourself.
Didn't have a battery in it, so I want to take it for a little quick spin, but I had to like leave it wedged.
Uh-huh.
So it wouldn't die, obviously.
Yeah,
it didn't
yeah,
have a battery,
of
and I forgot about it. So
yeah.
I came down here, you know, goosed it a little bit in a second, and the hood came up. So luckily, no damage though.
Just make sure you don't do it on your personal GTO, all right?
Yeah, I'll be careful. Next time.
You know, sometimes the video is just in the right place at the right time. All right, that was nice and simple enough. I guess let's see if it works. And I guess we're good. We can check that one off the list and move on to the stuff that sucks a little more. So I literally just went to pull this in the shop to fix the power steering line, and she broke. Yeah, she is definitely broken, so I'm gonna have to tend to that, and probably can't really drive it unless I want to carry around some wheel shocks with me. Clutch in, she's rolling, so add it to the list, I suppose. All right, so as per usual, Woody got the pump out in no time flat, and this is the old line. You just saw us put it in. This is the updated line, which we didn't have the combined brain power to put in on Saturday like we should have. So we're doing this. All feels very familiar. What do you think?
Yeah, round two.
Yeah.
Same as first time.
Yeah, I mean, you ain't wrong. Did you point at Woody and say that?
Yes.
Wow. All right, in further news, this is my parking brake cable on the rear driver's side. This is what it's supposed to look like. Again, that's what mine looks like. This end right there simply broke off of mine. The spring must have shot across the parking lot. So, just another thing in the saga that is the almost 300,000 mile Z06. I guess if there is a silver lining in this, I'm going to replace my ratty old shrunken hard leather e-brake parts with some slightly less shrunken and hard e-brake parts. So I guess I can call that an upgrade. All right, so we got the power steering line in. That went okay. Started messing with that rear e-brake cable and found out that not only is the actual left-hand side e-brake cable bad, the connector or I guess like cable joint that comes from the actual handle, which runs up from the center console and down through the transmission tunnel, that bracket actually cracked as well. So I think this is going to be an ongoing state of affairs with this car, but I guess it's what I deserve for buying a car like this. So we have it kind of rigged up. Hopefully it will work for a couple more days because I don't have time to mess with it tonight. It's getting really late here at the shop. I guess we'll have to add it to our list for later in the week. Alrighty, it is the next morning and I'm back ready to play a new version of What Will Break Today. So keep in mind, we have one working parking brake cable that is questionable at best. I was pulling into the gas station this morning and got a check brake fluid notification on the dash. Thought, okay, maybe we just borderline filled it and it took a while to trigger the light. Got another couple miles and the pedal starts feeling a little funny here. So, to recap, one working parking brake cable and now questionable brakes. I'm gonna try to tough it out and hope that this doesn't get any worse, but if the pedal starts going to the floor or anything like that, very obviously we're gonna have to call for the trailer. So hopefully I'll see you guys back at the shop and not on the trailer. All right, Tyler, give me a pump. Alrighty, that'll do it. So pretty much every brake line clip on this car, being 300,000 miles, was broken, missing, just dust. One of the lines here, I guess, popped up and wore through on the AC compressor pulley. We made it to the shop, obviously, so I guess that's good, but now we have to fix this and probably hunt down some replacement clips as well so this doesn't happen again. Okay, so we managed to get the proper brake line out of another Corvette we had laying around here. It was not fun to get out, and it's going to be even less fun to put in, I'm sure, but here she is, back in the shop as per usual. As you guys saw earlier, we also need to replace this entire e-brake assembly. Unfortunately, that is going to be quite the tight fit down there without pulling the seats. With that said, I was planning on doing an entire episode about taking care of the interior on this car. But that seat's coming out and I can't just put a bad seat back in there. Fortunately, I have had my eye on a set of seats in the showroom for like the past 2 months. I have to walk by them every day and I've been thinking, man, they would look good in this orange car. We also have a matching armrest to go with it. I know I sound like a Corvette boomer now, but I dig it. Let me know what you guys think on these seats. If I recall, these are from a 2008 Z06 that had the 3LZ interior package. For those of you guys who aren't familiar with that, it makes a world of difference in the Z06. Everyone hates on it for having plasticky interior and just being junk GM interiors. But if you get the 3LZ package in the Z06, or if it's ZR1, it's called like the 3ZR, and they change the names, but nonetheless, leather wrapped interior, it significantly upgrades the look of the car, in my opinion. All the Corvettes I have had it. This one is my first one that does not. The issue with them that is very widely known is that the dashboard will start peeling. It gets all hard and shrunk on the top of it, and unfortunately, a lot of times you can't even fix them. You just have to simply replace them, and short of conditioning them every day, it's just gonna happen again. So in this car, I'm not gonna go all out and put a full leather interior in it, but I'm gonna use bits and pieces like this, like the armrest from that package, just to make little upgrades while still keeping in mind the fact that I'm gonna be driving the car every day. It's gonna be sitting outside, and not setting myself up for failure, because those dashes are like too grand new, and I don't want it to go bad in a year or two. But before we get to any of that, I have a lot of painstaking work to do on the Corvette, the brakes, the e-brake, so we're gonna dive into that, and then we'll get the fun stuff. And as has been the case with everything else on this car, it is just worn, rusty, disgusting. I never thought I'd be judging the condition of a parking brake handle, but it's just significantly worse than this lower mile one. So I guess this is just another piece we're gonna check off, and we hopefully will never have to think about again. Okay, we have the bad brake line out of the car. For simplicity's sake, we just went ahead and cut it. That, of course, is the bad one. This is the new one we're gonna be putting in. So where is the fault on this? There it is. So I'm gonna try to show that the best I can. That was rubbing on the AC pulley. Now, obviously, this goes without saying. That could have ended very badly. Could have easily caught the car on fire because fluid sprayed everywhere. Not to mention the obvious that I could have completely lost brakes and hit somebody. The car is missing a ton of hardware, a ton of clips, I guess just due to age. But regardless, it just goes to show you that even if you're in a rush, if it's been a really long day and you're doing a lot of work to the car, take an extra 5 minutes, look over everything, just stop, breathe, and 10 times out of 10, that 5 minutes is going to pay off, because not only will you find something minor that you might have missed, but you could probably prevent a serious issue like this. We're going to go ahead and get this brake line back in the car. We're also going to give it a very thorough once over to make sure there's no other outstanding safety issues. I did find some brake lines on the other side of the car that weren't clipped in properly. The clips, again, just missing, broke, whatever. That I got taken care of this morning, but we're going to make sure there's no other hazards like that. All right, so we got the front brake line in. Didn't film much. I'm just trying to knock this out. But this is a perfect example of what I was talking about earlier. Just straight, rusty, old junk. This is the parking brake handle cable from the 300,000 mile car. It's obviously disgusting. This part is broken, which was the start of all our issues. And this is what a nice, shiny, new part looks like. Well, new for us. I learned something new today. We got that brake handle in, went smooth, started putting the brake cables in, and unfortunately, I learned that there is a slight difference between ZR1 cables, which is the only thing I have here to use, and Z06 cables. The junky one is obviously a Z06 cable. This one is the ZR1 cable. As you can see, it is longer. The mounting points are different, and unfortunately, that isn't going to work. ZR1s have different subframes, different rear diffs, different brakes. So I'm sure it's something related to that. I just didn't know that was a thing, and unfortunately, now we are without cable. So until further notice, old girl is not going to have an e-brake, and we're gonna have to hunt down some cables. I am gonna stash these away though. You never know. Maybe the car will have a ZR1 trans one day. Maybe it'll have carbon ceramics. So I'm sure at that time I would be unable to find these and be complaining about it. So they'll sit in the office for a while. We unfortunately had to order some new brake cables, so we're gonna have to wait a couple days for those to get here. But we're gonna get the car buttoned up the rest of the way. It's pretty late here at the shop, so we're gonna have to wait for somebody to get here in the morning and help me bleed these brakes. We're also gonna get prepped for the interior swap. As I mentioned, I'm gonna do a center console as well as the seats. This is the Sienna 3LZ armrest I was referring to earlier. Unfortunately, it does have a broken latch, like most do. The one in my car does. Fortunately, I was able to find a base black armrest in stock that does not have a broken latch. So we're going to transplant this latch onto this, and it will be ready to go in the car in the morning when I can get the doors open and finish up the interior, the seats, all that good stuff. So I'll see you back here in the morning. All right, guys, it's the next morning. We're back in the shop. We are bleeding the brakes now, and then we're going to put the car down and finish up this interior swap. Got Fernando the man behind the wheel. Got a couple wheels left to do, and we are going to put the wheels back on and get it out of here.
I kind of like the ZR1 wheels too. You don't like them?
What, these?
No, the ZR1s.
So the ZR1 wheels I think look good in like a comp gray.
They actually fit good on Z06s
Yeah,
or no?
they fit the same.
Oh, okay.
So they have a dark gray color and they have a raw silver color that I think look awesome.
And what about the chrome ones?
The chrome I do not like.
Really?
Mine had chrome when I bought my ZR1.
Okay.
It's just
I just like the design, to be honest with
what do
you.
you say?
The design.
Yeah, the design looks good on, like I said, gray and silver. I can't get down to the chrome. If I have chrome wheels, they have to be like not flashy wheels, because if you have flashy wheels like that and they're chrome, it's just too much. In my opinion. Alright, I'll give you the camera because the internet needs answers. S2000 updates.
So, right now it's on the body shop. Finally, car is running. Alignment, inspection, well done. So now, Matt is doing an amazing job with the car. So hopefully we get it done this week or by the end of the next week. But then it's gonna be running, and
then it's time for turbos.
yes. No.
Oh yeah, I got you. There you go. All right.
No.
I got it on camera. We're good.
No. I thought you were gonna say time for wheels.
No.
Turbos, no.
All right, let's settle on a supercharger.
Probably.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Alex, we're making progress. He's all worked up over the whole turbo thing.
You may be nervous now. So you're gonna put the center console first?
I'm not gonna put it in until I do the radio. Considering I can't drive the car home till Wednesday anyway. So, did I tell you about those brake cables?
Oh, the handbrake, yeah.
Yeah, the brake. I had the ones in stock here, but they're too long. They're from newer Corvettes.
Oh.
So you want me to shorten them? What's up? You want me to shorten them? Yeah. The cables themselves probably could have worked, but the mounting points to the subframes are all off.
Yeah. Back to the street again.
Yes, sir. I gotta wash it off first. All feels very familiar, doesn't it?
So what are you gonna wash first? You're gonna clear the engine a little bit?
I need to put a little more brake fluid in it. Yeah, I'm gonna degrease the engine, but I'm gonna do it underneath first. This YouTube series is gonna turn into me just pressure washing the car every week because something breaks.
Hey, you're gonna keep it clean, so.
Not the outside. We good. I guess we'll take it around and it's time to get started on that driver's seat.
Nice.
I don't know how I'm going to get that one out because the motor doesn't work, but...
Really?
Yep. You remember when Eric had to put a lunchbox behind him? Yeah, I don't know what the deal is going to be with that, but...
So it's going to be another fun project.
Alright, so for the time being, we are back to not leaking. I'm sure that'll change later in the week, but for now, we're good. I got this passenger seat in here. That was nice and simple. Armrest, center console's in. Now it is time for the driver's seat, which I've been dreading because this one does not move. It's probably the switch. I'm gonna see if I can somehow get in there to get it out without messing with the switch, or maybe I can put power straight to the motor. What do you think of the color?
I like it. They
Orange?
match. Actually match. Pretty good.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not just old.
Yes.
It actually looks good.
Oh, look at the armrest too.
Uh-huh. This one's being a pain. It's not a fuse. It's not, I'm not pulling all this to get to the switch. So I'm just gonna try to jump the motor and hope it works. If the motor's dead too, I'm out of ideas other than dismantling the seat until I can get to the bolts.
So, but what's the issue that you're having right now?
We have no power whatsoever.
Okay.
To the seats.
And that means that you can pull it out for whatever
Exactly.
reason?
I can't get to the back bolts.
Oh, okay.
Were you actually having trouble, or you just being stupid?
Huh?
Were you actually having trouble, or you just being stupid?
Oh no, yeah, it's
Oh, does that not move?
yeah.
Oh, I hear something.
That's why you were okay. I was like, what are you having trouble with that you need like upholstery expertise? But no, what you're doing is.
Yeah.
I forgot that thing didn't move.
That's why Eric was in here with a lunchbox.
Oh,
Yeah,
there you
we
go.
All right.
Whoa.
Yeah, all right.
That's how you get it done, right?
Uh-huh. That wasn't too bad. You know, the connector's super hard to get to, so I cut the wires, but I guess I'm not going to be too upset about, you know, messing up a 300,000 mile seat that's already just beat the hell.
And they will be for sale now.
Yeah, somebody will recover these or do something with them. You know better than most of us do that Corvette seats always going to sell, right?
And C06 especially.
Exactly. Then again, whoever buys this has to recover them anyway, so I don't know that they're necessarily going to care too much, but...
It's a perfect project.
Get you out of there. Some other wiring we got. Alright, you gotta film him getting here too, because that thing is just disgusting.
There we go.
Yeah, this is the connector that I couldn't get under there where the seat down to get to. So, just cut the wires, and if somebody wants, I mean, it's not working anyway, but if somebody wants to, they can, you know, resplice and do whatever. What's going on?
Morning, how you doing?
It's the first time I've seen that thing in person.
It's
That is
crazy, right?
slick. As the seat, no other issues with the car because this one works perfectly. Every motor functions just as it should. So with that, we are done our interior swap. Let me know what you guys think on it. Maybe I'm just old, but I really like the Sienna interior. I am going to leave it here for now. It's the day of our open house and people are starting to show up. So we will go ahead and slam all this stuff back in later. And I think while it's apart, I'll go ahead and put a radio in it. So if this entire video, you've been dreading this compression test, like I have good news and bad news for you. The good news is, we're no longer doing a compression test. The bad news is, this is what the Corvette looks like. Unfortunately, this weekend, the car was involved in what we'll call a foul weather induced off-track excursion. While the car is very fixable, I'm having trouble swallowing the cost of doing the body work, doing the little bit of suspension work that's needed, only to have it back to the form it was before. You guys heard me mention earlier in this video that I was struggling with cutting one of these cars up. I was looking for another one that we could cut up. Sometimes the decisions make themselves. Given the car's newfound condition, I think it makes the most logical sense to dedicate this car to the project that was in mind when it was purchased. Unfortunately, that project is going to take a long time. It is very labor and cost intensive, and I don't think it's been done in one of these cars before. So that leaves us with quite the dilemma. Fortunately, I do have something up my sleeve. Through a stroke of luck, I got in touch with Hassan at Chicago Motor Cars. We had recently bought a wrecked wide-body C5 off him, and it turns out he might have just the car for us. So be sure to tune in for next episode because you're not going to want to miss where this goes.